Hi, my name is Aashna, and I'm the president of the Student Advisory Council for Anti-Trafficking International, formerly known as Just Ask Prevention. As a note, in the following clip, Mirielle refers to our organization as Just Ask Prevention, which underwent a name change as we have now become an international organization. We are now known as Anti-Trafficking International.
And I'm Hailey. I'm Secretary of the Student Advisory Council for Anti-Trafficking International. And we are so happy to introduce you to the incredibly important topic of how we can create a much needed community to help reintegrate survivors of human trafficking into a safe society.
Before arming yourself with this information, however, it is important that you understand the journey of a survivor and recognize why trafficking victims are in need of an especially supportive and invested community.
Firstly, it is crucial to understand the social and legal structures in place that make it difficult for trafficked victims to reintegrate into society. Currently, according to the National Survivors Network, 90% of trafficked victims are arrested due to crimes they are coerced to commit by traffickers who exploit them, which prevents 81.5% of survivors from maintaining employment and 55.6% from getting housing, burdening them financially.
Secondly, the severe physical, mental, and health impacts victims face make it difficult for them to reintegrate into society. Facing such conditions as depression, anxiety, PTSD, and sexually transmitted infections, it is incredibly important that victims receive treatment and support from their friends, family, the government, and medical professionals, as will be explored in this video.
Lastly, it is important to recognize that many trafficked victims feel compelled to return to their trafficker for a host of other reasons, including coercion and threats by their trafficker, severe trauma causing them to feel bonded to their trafficker, and unstable financial, physical, and mental health conditions, making them dependent on their trafficker.
While we have provided the basics about this expansive issue, if you have not already seen our video further exploring this information on ATI's channel, we recommend you watch Why Victims Return to Traffickers before viewing this one.
Without further ado, we're excited to introduce Mirielle from Youth Collaboratory to talk about building community with survivors of human trafficking.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mirielle Milne, and I have partnered with Just Ask Prevention today to talk a little bit about building community in order to prevent exploitation of vulnerable populations and create community with survivors. So I work for an organization called Youth Collaboratory as a consultant member of the Youth Catalyst team. And I'm really passionate about freedom, authentic youth collaboration, and community. And so obviously the last of those is what we're going to be talking about today. And it might seem a little bit weird or off that this topic is coming right where it is, especially maybe if you have just heard about sex trafficking for the first time. But that is exactly what I want to advocate to change. Really, without community, we have loss, we have burnout, and lots of band-aid solutions that don't make deep and lasting change. And so we need community, and specifically the reimagining of what community could look like to be a part of every step in this conversation. And so just diving right in, what I'd like to talk about is first is like including all community stakeholders. So to create community where survivors are included and uplifted, we need to seek out community where all stakeholders are included and aware of this issue. And so you see this diagram here on the screen, and really this is just to provide an example of what I'm talking about. This really could mean partnering with like a college or school, maybe a scholarship organization, or a business to do something like raise awareness, or simply giving a survivor a place in a school or workplace that could really completely change their future. So there are universities in the United States that have created programs where survivors get to experience recovery and healing while going to school. And so these are the type of opportunities that we must seek out, create, cultivate, and encourage. And really what I mean when I say that all community stakeholders should have the same awareness and inclusivity of this issue. And in that, survivors need to have a central role in creating these community partners. This means like that survivors who have these unique and often really deep and traumatic experiences should be part of who they will deciding who they want to have community with. So we shouldn't be like limiting or assuming what that means of like survivors just need these specific resources. And so like an example of this could be like maybe a survivor is really interested in music. But instead of assuming what they need in that even interest, we should ask them, have conversation, and create community with them. And so that's asking, how do they want to engage? Maybe that's a tutor, or maybe it's helping them to seek out peers to start a garage band with, or maybe it's a platform for them to teach music, creating community together in that way. And really what's happening here is that when we see survivors, individuals who again have been often isolated and deprived of healthy community, then connected with community, going to school, working at a local coffee shop, and rocking out on the weekends, this is when we see this holistic community and well-being being created and walked out. And so through being welcomed, accepted, and loved into healthy community, needs are being met, goals are completed, and really healing can start to take place. The sad reality is that statistics show that it could take up to 6 or 7 times after escaping a situation or a trafficker for survivors to never go back again. And so when we're talking about community, it's really this reality that the more ways that survivors can be integrated into community that they desire, the more reasons for them not to go back. This is really important. And kind of along that vein of this being a really complex issue, it's also a very intersectional one. It intersects with gender and race because of the disproportionality that we see in those two areas of victims and survivors. And although it is really challenging to get accurate statistics about sex trafficking, as well as the intersecting issues such as abuse and homelessness, since so much of this goes undocumented, there are some really concerning numbers to look at just within those demographics. And so what I'd like to talk about a little bit is just from even the 2019 US Census reported that 24% of the US population is made up of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, yet 52% of the homeless population are those same demographics of individuals. And so these numbers show a huge disproportionality between race and homelessness. And then it specifically connects to trafficking, as we see statistics showing that about 20% of homeless youth also experience trafficking. And so really this doesn't mean just speaking up about sex trafficking. It means major social change. And we need to function in community to do that. Walking away from this video, something that's really important to do is locate oneself in community. And this looks like really examining yourself and your community and asking hard questions about how you fit into it and how you can support it. And so that might include questions like, who is a part of my community and who isn't? Since community is something that we can choose to create, we're not stuck in physical boundaries of what it could look like. This means that our effort in how we interact with community and our intentionality in who we participate in community with can have a huge impact. So that is all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching.